Not me but my cousin, the woman wanted. Mom, you told me not to get a tattoo. Well look. This is what you get for divorcing Dad. I really hope she got it removed. When I worked as a tattoo artist, a guy wanted us to tattoo his name on his infant baby. Because as he put it, she's trying to say that's not my son. Quote, we threatened to call the guardy because what the actual hell. We wouldn't tattoo anyone under the age of 18, even with parental consent, and we certainly wouldn't tattoo our baby. I had to laugh when I saw the episode of Archer where he and the baby get tattoos. It was a grim reminder. I have a friend that tattooed on herself the word spy onto her leg when she was 14, but anytime she wears socks it looks like it says spit. I have a buddy that has his anus tattooed and got it when he was high on shrooms. It's an eyeball. God help whichever tattoo artist had to do that one. I was getting tattooed and one of the guys at the shop refused to tattoo a couple flies around a girl's meow and inner thigh. Several years ago I tattooed the words Jeffrey Dahmer in garbage tea scratchy writing on a girl's neck for her 18th birthday. She had been coming into the shop a lot with her friends as they got tattooed and talking about it. She had the letters drawn up exactly as she wanted them and everything. The answer was always the same. No fluffing way. When she finally turned 18, she came in with a few friends and asked again. I told her politely to fluff off with her shenanigans. A few minutes later her friend told her he could just tattoo it with a gun he got off eBay at home. I made the hard choice to do the tattoo to ensure that it wouldn't get infected or be all scarred up if she ever decided to have it removed. It's been circulating around the internet for several years. I still feel garbage tea about it, and hope she got it removed. http://cheeseburger.com 6,524,093,696. Not a tattoo artist but the guy the first went to for many years once told me that he had a customer come in, 20 years old and completely sober and very serious, wanting him to tattoo birds flying out of her meow up to her lower stomach. He told her he wasn't willing to tattoo genitalia to get out of it, and she said, okay, I'll just take an infinity sign on the back of my neck instead. He saved her from a lot of awkward questions and a lot of regret later in life. My brother got his own name on his chest, not sure why. Not a tattoo artist, but I asked one this question while watching him tattoo my best friend. He said that a guy came in and asked for Bert and Ernie from Sesame Street on the bottoms of his big toes, one on each foot. I got a tattoo of Doodle Bob on my ass. To those unaware, Doodle Bob is the character from the episode of SpongeBob where SpongeBob finds a pencil and draws a copy of himself. The copy becomes alive and ends up being evil. While I was getting it I asked the tattoo artist, so what's the dumbest tattoo you've ever given someone? His reply, honestly, probably this one. I've had it for a few years and have no regrets. Doodle Bob will live on underneath my boxers for years to come. Me hoi manoi. Obligatory. Not a tattoo artist, but I did a series of renovations at a buddy's shop over a couple years. I was something like a skilled groupie. Strangest request I saw honored. Guy comes in, looking like a goth thug. He says his mom just died recently and he wants to get a portrait done in her honor. He pulls out an 8x10 black and white nudie pic of his monsieur. I heard my buddy ask a question like, was your mom a burlesque dancer? The guy, deadpan, says, no, man, no. She was a stay-at-home monsieur. The finished piece was actually amazing, but clearly that family was a bit different than mine. Strangest request I saw turned away. Guy came in with a small group, maybe 4 or 5 people in their early 20s. He wanted a few disembodied slongs floating over a naked woman, spraying her with cum. Monsieur, that guy had a giant slong tattooed on his forearm. Monsieur did. Since you guys seem to like this, here is a bonus. A couple came in. They were your typical white thugs. wearing gang colors just outside the bad part of town and trying to be hard. They were fighting about something and she kept dropping the N-bomb on him. Monsieur, we, the workers at the shop, were all wildly uncomfortable. Anyway, the guy wanted the Silver Surfer on his ribs. He had a picture. A price was negotiated and he returned with his girl a couple days later for his appointment. I was laying tile in the room next to the room this guy is getting tattooed in. Normally, I would hear nothing, but not this time. This guy was screaming. I went in to check on them, just barge in. Completely inappropriate behavior on my end. Honestly, I was terrified that something awful had happened to my friend. My buddy was trying to maintain a straight face and coach the guy through. But the screams continued. The girlfriend was absolutely berating this guy and mocking him. Monsieur, eventually, the guy fainted and had to be revived with smelling salts. That was the end of the season. Somewhere out there is a guy with a half-finished Silver Surfer on his ribs and an awful memory. I was apprenticing with my dad at his tattoo parlor, and on this particular day I had nothing to do. So I was just cleaning and answering calls. A 50-something-year-old man came in wearing denim shorts and thongs, sandals, with a wife-beater on and the most magnificent mullet. He asked about finishing a tattoo he had gotten in Thailand. I asked him to show me, and when he did I couldn't even comprehend what was happening with it. It was a full back piece of a koala with one foot on the ground and the other on a fallen bottle of BB, holding a tattered Australian flag up in one hand and shooting an AK-47 into the distance with the other. The koala also had the Southern Cross tattooed on its chest. I referred him to another artist, and after they spoke he left. I haven't seen him since. All in all, a very weird encounter with the most bogan Aussie you could think of. My wife is a tattoo artist. She had a woman come in and ask her to lighten up her lady parts. The client thought they were too dark. After some talk, my wife agreed. They got everything ready, prepared, shaved, etc. She touches the woman's bits with the needle and she just screams, "Can't do it." So this woman has a slightly pink little dot on her now. It's the weirdest. Not an artist, but the artist I see said he has a guy come in and get naked Disney princesses tattooed all over his body, like think topless Little Mermaid or naked Pocahontas. Then gets upset when people complain about them being invisible when kids are around. Tattoo artist here. While on a canoe trip with my friends, we met a man who was enjoying the river on his kayak. We were all stopped at a small shore and the man commented on how many tattoos we all had. My friends all instinctively pointed to me and said, "She's a tattoo artist." Quote, "This is not a thing that I like people to know in my leisure time, because I then get sucked into a lengthy conversation about the person's cousin's brother's aunt who watched Ink Masters once and wants a tattoo. Anyway, my friends knew this and did it anyway, and the man started telling me that he wants his wife to get a tattoo. The idea he began to tell me was nothing I would ever want a tattoo, or ever would, but it's the closest I've ever come to the weirdest tattoo I've ever done. He described a butterfly on her meow. Pretty much he explained that when she were to pull apart the lips of her meow, the inside she wanted tattooed like butterfly wings. So her meow looked just like a butterfly when spread apart. That was the most awkward conversation of my life, and my friends enjoyed every second of it. Not a tattoo artist, but I went to school with a girl that got a human heart tattooed on her butt and it says, "Eat your heart out." Very interesting. My brother is a tattoo artist and refused to tattoo 2 small pot leaves above my other brother's thumbs. He later got it done by a friend. They look terrible and he wishes he had never done it. He also got a ski mask tattooed behind his ear. My brother said yes to that one because of how bad the pot leaves turned out. Finally, a post I can comment on. I had a pair of dominatrix sisters ask me to tattoo their live-in slave for his birthday as a surprise. It was their names in Chinese. at the base of his cock. They had specifically requested me as I fit into the fetish category of the slave. Being an East Asian lady tattooer, I was to be paid triple for my time, but had one request that I tattoo him at their studio, dressed as a dominatrix while he was tied up bondage style. When I got to their location, it was really sketchy as it was in a random warehouse in a bad part of town. But once I walked through the red door, it was very tastefully decorated with cages hanging from the ceiling along with the chandeliers. They had me dress up in their clothes as we were the same size, while the slave got ready in his gear, none the wiser. When he was ready, after some sort of ceremony where they whipped him for a while, they told him his birthday surprise. He was so excited he was erect by the time I had my station ready. They used to be nurses, so they had the sterile equipment already, hence an easy setup. The ladies tied him up on a padded table, and stretched out the area to be tattooed by weighing down his slong and balls with rope and weights. After the tattoo was done, they thanked me for my services, paid me triple along with a hefty tip, and I was on my way. All in all, 10 out of 10 would do it again. Edit. Wow, Reddit silver 3 times. Thank you, generous lords. A tattoo of a slong on a slong. Not a tattoo artist, but walked by a guy at Coachella who had a rib tattoo of a guy jacking off, standing atop a pile of dead bodies. Lol, a couple got Kevin Bacon's face on a piece of bacon on their asses. It was actually awesome though, tbh, and they were super nice people. Not a tattoo artist, but I worked with a lady who had a picture of herself on the cross tattooed on her upper arm, and the tattoo self was naked, and she was happy cause he made my tits bigger on it. I had this dude come in with his wife and he wanted to get a cum rag he got from some whorehouse. Done realistically, he even brought the cum rag with him. It was in some glass container, haha. ITT, people who double down on saying no, and God bless them. Not me personally, but I know my ex-stepdad's mother is a renowned tattooist in the UK and she is an immigrant. A guy came in wanting her to tattoo shop wanting fuck off packies on his back. She declined. My tattoo artist once shared this story of this girl who wanted a rose tattooed around her anus. He refused, naturally, and she whined for a bit before asking him to instead tattoo "sweet little thing" across her lower back, tramp stamp style. He again refused and kicked her out of the shop. In his words, he wasn't going to deal with that level of crazy for that long. Not an artist, but as an eavesdropping customer. A lady who was 8 months pregnant. I still have 4 weeks, it's fine. Wanted her baby's due date down her spine. What if the baby was early or late? After some back and forth with the artist saying he was not comfortable with her being so close to due, they came to an agreement to put it on the side of her neck. Definitely took my mind off my own session. While I was getting tattooed, I asked my artist this same question. She told me once a guy walked in and asked for a full back piece of a demon bending an old nun over and raping her, and for the nun to have huge feet. It was the only tattoo she ever refused. Obligatory. Not a tattoo artist. But earlier today my best friend got a tattoo of E.T. doing a line of coke off his long fingers. Also has a tattoo of Chinese symbols which literally translates to cheesy garlic bread. Guy in my town did a touch-up on a Holocaust survivor, one of the guys I served with. They were from a really fluffed-up area of the South. Had a client come in to have his SS tattoo touched up in the 70s. He did it and they turned the check into the FBI. Caught a war criminal that day. Another story was a guy that had all these weird names he wanted tattooed on his inner thigh. Turns out they were the names of several hookers that had been murdered and his dad was able to call the cops. Some of the names were for people that hasn't even been reported missing. Guy never got caught. Not an artist, but the guy that first went to told me about someone who repeatedly came into the shop and only ever wanted sort of natural marks on his body circled. Nipples were circled. Freckles were circled. Moles were circled. So the guy just had loads of circles of various sizes on his body. One day, he shaved off his beard, found a spot or mole on his chin, and came in that day to have it circled. The artist eventually turned him away and refused to circle anymore. Not an artist, but I have a tattoo of a slong with a smiley face tattooed on my slong. The artist I found was so excited and told me that she had been waiting ages to tattoo a slong. Regularly messages me saying that people ask her about her most memorable tattoo and that it's mine. I'm not a tattoo artist but a health inspector that inspects tattoo piercing establishments. Had to investigate a complaint about a mother trying to get her 15-year-old daughter's nipples tattooed. Said they didn't look right. No one fortunately would do it because they weren't comfortable looking at a 15-year-old's breasts. But she said she'd just go somewhere else. I had her info from the tattoo place and turned it over to DCS.